And it's Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time here on the East Coast of the United States. And this is another episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. Each and every week we produce this broadcast, and our hope, our mission is that we give our listeners ideas that they can utilize. We're getting a lot of views every single week. We're getting over 20,000 downloads every week. We've got a good listenership. The vast majority of it is on the replays that go on through the week, and you can research the back episodes on our website at any time, cvcsuccessgroup.com, and you can see we're up to almost 300 episodes we've done since I started doing this broadcast several years ago. So anyway, we keep putting it out. We keep coming up with ideas. And to be honest with you, we get a lot of the ideas simply from our interaction with our clients and what we see going on in the industry. And today, that is going to be one of those topics. And here's the question for you. Is your second string ready to step in? And what do I mean by a second string? Think for a minute. What if your top technician all of a sudden becomes disabled, or he quits, or worse, something happens to him? He's no longer with you. How many days in the year do you deal with absenteeism when someone is not able to come to work due to any number of reasons that are out there now? Any number of reasons of why they could be out. I mean, I'm understanding a lot of people, they took the day off after the election. They had to be able to cycle the election results in their minds of what happened. They stayed up late the night before, weren't able to get to work the next day. So guess what? We got a truck that shut down again. So when you look at this, have you ever added up what the cost of this absenteeism, everything else? Plus the question is, what are you going to do when your star player's not there? As I was putting my thoughts together for this broadcast today, I thought back to the year 1969 and the Super Bowl that was going on that year. And the Super Bowl that year, Baltimore was in it, and their star quarterback was Johnny Unitas. Well, Johnny Unitas was injured and wasn't able to play. But luckily, they had a backup quarterback by the name of Earl Morrall. And Earl stepped in, did an amazing job as the quarterback, and they won the Super Bowl that year. So just think about it. What would they have done? Have you ever seen a pro team trot out on the field that there's not reserve players sitting back there for key positions? No. If you go to a baseball game, there's always pitchers sitting back there in the bullpen prepping, and they often change pitchers in the middle of the game because the pitcher that's getting there isn't getting it done. So the manager's got to take that walk out to the mound, take the ball away, and motion over to where the bullpen is and send in. And he makes a decision. Do I want a right-hander or a left-hander? They've got their second string ready to go. Now, this isn't an easy thing to do. I'm going to tell you, because running a business is not an easy job to have in this day and time. When we talk about a second string, it's going to talk recruiting at a heavier basis than what you're probably doing. It's going to require budget consideration because this is going to put a stress on your budget. But what's needed for the business? What's needed for the business? So share what your thoughts as I talk about the second string and having someone ready to move in position. Because I know every week you get the phone call. I need people now. And a lot of times it breaks down. As long as they can walk and talk and breathe, they're qualified. I'll take them. Just find me some people. So share what your thoughts in this topic.
Sometimes breathing's optional, I think. But the thing about it is, if you don't have somebody to fill a position and you have to shut down, that's bad on the whole company, not just the truck that had to shut down. It throws everybody in a loop. And I've hired long enough. The odds of going in and picking up somebody that day are totally slim and none. And so there's a period. And then plus, after you get somebody, you need to train them a little bit. But what I see is so many people they don't train their apprentice people. They just make them helpers. They leave them out there for helpers forever. Not everyone can become a lead tech, but you need to work on finding the people that can. And you also, one of the hangups I have is my people are afraid to help train the person working with them because they're afraid they'll take their job. But my opinion is if you're afraid somebody's going to take your job, then you're not doing your job 100%. So I push it every time I talk to somebody. Let's get somebody in to fill that back seat so we can bring them into the lead.
Yeah, but Cheryl, wouldn't you agree? It's hard to find the right people today. Would you agree with that?
It is. It's getting harder and harder. And actually, before the election, things really came to a downfall. It just, people were afraid to move. People were afraid to go anywhere. They didn't know what was coming up when the election took over. It is just now beginning to kick back in. The resumes are starting to come in. But again, it's the pool of people out there. You're looking at a younger group of people, and many of those were pressed into going to college. They're not looking for the service field. And as Josh can tell you, you don't take somebody that's never been outside and stick them on top of a roof and expect them to perform.
Got you covered. So, Josh, what's your thoughts on this? Hey, you fall into that category. You went to college. I believe you have a degree in accounting. Am
I
I
do.
correct? So,
Yep,
what's your
accounting.
thoughts on? Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on this? The need for a second string.
Oh, it's absolutely important. A lot of times it fell onto me when we had the shop. I was at second string that day. I always kept a uniform there in case someone called out. And it's a lot of wear and tear on as the owner to do that. It was a big wear and tear on me. Kind of pushes a need for training centers for where you can get guys up faster. The other thing is fire faster too, because I think if I have a percentage in my mind of all the people you do, once you go through the hiring process and you find someone who actually comes to work every day, what would you say, 20 to 30% can take the next step?
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys who just are helpers, and you need to unfortunately cycle through some of those guys to make sure you get to the next step, or find where their strengths are. Maybe they can just do pellet service, or just one skill that helps you get by.
Yeah. Well, it came close this week. I was on client visits, and on Monday of this week, one of their lead techs that morning quit, no notice, just left. The next morning, a second one did the same thing. And this puts a severe crimp because we have promises to our customers. We're going to overload the other technicians to pick up the slack. Or, like you say, the owner has to go into the field, or the managers. And if you're in the field, you can't do the job you need to do, which is running the business, operating the business. You can't do it any longer. So, again, but hiring is tough. I mean, let's speak specifically of chimney service. And this is where I think we're hurting really bad in chimney service is, who in the world ever grew up and wanted to be a chimney sweep technician in their lifetime? Who wanted to do that? Probably no one, except those that may have parents that run the business. I mean, Josh, your parents ran a business. As
Yep.
you were growing up, what was your desire to become whenever you became an endo? How did you plan to make a living?
Well, it was originally to do accounting work, but I got burned down on that pretty quickly. And then I was asked to come back. I hadn't planned on it because really I was working for another small business, and I grew up in a small business, so I was used to being a Swiss Army knife. So if I got done, I mean, of course, I was doing maintenance on the building too, and painting, and doing all sorts of other stuff. I'd help run the register too. So for me, I knew that, just being, I was building this other person's business as a young man, and I needed to, why am I doing that, for them when, I can take, our family business or my own business to the next level.
Yeah. So, Cheryl, let me ask you this. If people are interested, where are the majority of people coming from? What's driving them to apply for positions?
At this moment, this has not been all the way across the board. It's money. They want better money. They are looking to be closer to the job. I'm finding a lot of people that traveled that they're ready to come back and live at home. They have children, but a lot of times it just dwells down to the money and more of the culture of the company. Have they heard it's a good company? But I'm just going to interject this here. I think the one failure of everything in the trades is we took it out of school. These kids nowadays do not realize that the trades are a good business to be in. And so a lot of the people that I get the resumes from, you would be amazed at how many people have worked for Amazon or Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. They haven't had a job that would require a lot of thought. And I think that's one of the huge problems. We're not finding people that can think for themselves.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the quote, Josh, quote you, I'd be happy if I could find, candidates that know which end of the hammer to hold. Do you remember telling me that?
absolutely. That's a big problem. I had a guy I was training. We must have cleaned 50 pellet stoves over a couple weeks. But when you went to go remove the pellets, and it was I remember this, he'd removed the blower motor 50 times using a 1/4-inch drive bit, hex bit, magnetic bit. We've all used gazillions of time in the field. And then when it came time for him to choose the tool, it's a slotted hex. He all of a sudden he pulls out a straight bit. I'm like, what are you doing? When have you done that? And it was just so discouraging to see that. Like,
yeah, and it is. And it's like, is it a learning disability on their side? Is it that they really just don't want to learn? Are they looking for an easier thing? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and say that there's just nobody out there that wants a job. I disagree with that. I think it's a fact of we've got to get the word out about the opportunities you can have if you come to work here. And I think that's what you got to do. You got to look inside yourself and ask yourself the question, if I were an applicant in today's world, would I come to work here? When I look at this, because you are competing against everybody else in your community. Everywhere you look, people are looking for help. I know one of my favorite gas stations to stop at is Buc-ee's. Cheryl got some, Jay, I was crossing in Tennessee last week, brought her some beef jerky home because she always, when I cross a Buc-ee's, I got to bring Cheryl some beef jerky in. And Josh, you're also a big Buc-ee's guy if you're going by one,
turkey
But
jerky.
if you walk up, every time you walk into a Buc-ee's, you see this big sign that they are hiring and what they are paying for these various positions when you look at it. Yes, sir.
At the gas pump too.
Yeah. You're looking at this. So again, you've got to come up with a recruiting system to market your business to people. And I'm going to encourage you, look at what your social market is doing. Where is your social marketing at? Go ahead, Josh. You had your hand up.
Well, and even then, okay, so Buc-ee's, would you say the pay they're offering is for entry level, right?
Correct. They've got entry level all the way up to managers.
But it's the entry level pay. It's not minimum wage. It's not even close to it. It is what, $20 an hour to run a cashier starting?
You're running up, depending on the location. I see them anywhere from $15 to $18 an hour starting off the street with no experience.
And I'm just going to throw this out there for, we're in probably one of the highest risk trades. Would you say that, Jerry?
I would say that.
You're asking guys to climb ladders and roofs, and plumbers and electricians don't have to do a lot of that, or HVAC techs. So, and this is making sure we add value, is we're asking guys to literally break their neck, and what are we starting them at, and how are you going to attract that guy? Because one of the things is too is the Buc-ee's are immaculate. They're power washing constantly, the pumps, and Someone's cleaning the bathrooms every hour, and what kind of, if someone walks in through a warehouse that looks like a bomb went off, or the same thing with the trucks are run down. What is that saying to the employee, as far as what their pay is going to look like, what their day-to-day is going to look like?
And you hit a classic thing right there. You got to take a look at your facility. When people come to look at your facility, to interview, they're going to look at your facility. Is that a place that they want to work? Is it organized? Is the warehouse organized? Are the vehicles decent? Are they modern? Are they look wore out there? These are all the things that come into play. So what you got to do is be able to get the message out there. You got to build the budget to be able to do this. That's very true. You have to have the money to do it. But number two, you got to develop a system. And so I want you to think about something for a minute. Which social media outlets are going to reach the key demographics that you're looking for? And I heard something this week from a friend of mine, I heard it through a client. A friend of mine advised him. A lot of times we're using Facebook. Well, be honest with you, Facebook's not reaching the younger crowd we're looking for. So we look at TikTok, it's going to a young crowd, probably younger than what you're looking for. And so what his advice is you need to be marketing on Instagram. Instagram is more reaching that level, the person that you're looking for out there. But you got to go above and beyond that, because what you're not looking for, Cheryl, would you agree that we don't need the chronic unemployed to go through jobs week after week after week? Every time you turn around, they're working somebody else. Is that the person we want to hire?
That's not the person we want to hire. And people that don't believe that happened, I found a gentleman having 21 jobs in 3 years.
Holy crap.
And his resume was really, really good. In fact, the company that I spoke with said, do him and send him in. And I told them, they had looked at the beginning of the resume. They didn't keep strolling down to see how many jobs he had. So people are looking for good quality people, but they want good quality people that can stay with them, because you don't train the chimney service industry, or actually not many of the industries, in 1 year. It takes years to be totally trained.
Correct. I think it also comes down to your management style. We see, Cheryl, you recently had a new employee quit because he considered the guy he was working with was barking orders at him and didn't show him any respect.
It happens more than you can imagine. The people nowadays, when you and I grew up, you went to work, nobody, told you were doing a good job. People now like to hear, I like to hear it. You like to hear it too. We never thought about it. But nowadays, these people are looking for some validation that they're doing well. And if you've got a guy there that is doing nothing but tossing negatives at him, sure, he's stressed, he's on the job, he's having a problem. But if somebody does something good, if you let them know, they begin to want to hear that more often, and hopefully they improve. But yeah, the upper staff can ruin an employee.
Got you. So, Josh, you got any other words of wisdom to add into this?
Well, not just your upper staff, but whoever you got doing training, right?
Yeah.
Anybody that touched them.
Yeah. Well, then you start looking at, and one thing to notice is the person you expect to be doing the training, how many people are they getting to the next level? Because sometimes, our company, we had a guy with lots of experience, and when we moved him into a different position and got him, where he didn't have position over other techs, the actual department flourished. It got better. So, and then you hear little things like, how he was treating them, but not so mean to him, but just like would never teach him things, and would never, just made him clean up and stuff like that. Wasn't actually teaching people. Yeah. And even that is, for these guys, the ones who are really hungry, they want, they want to learn, and they're not going to sit around for that.
And that goes back to one of the things Brandy used to talk about when she was on our broadcast, was the stay interview, of sitting down with people, finding out when they are discouraged or whatever, who can they talk to in the company? I did a presentation to a client's team this week when I was on site with them. And I told them, I said, this company is moving. It has got all the tools for success. We just need a great team here to carry forth the stuff. So what I'm going to encourage you is if you have a problem, you need to speak to someone. There's several members of your leadership team. Who do you feel like you can speak to? So where they can listen to you and find out how they can get their frustrations out. Because I'm a firm believer that most communication issues result because somebody cannot listen to understand what others are saying. So to be a great leader, you got to be able to listen to understand what people are wanting. That's how people build to the levels that they do. So Josh, one more time, anything else you want to add into this?
No, I'm good.
Good. Cheryl, any other ideas you want to share?
What I would say is managers, owners, anybody with any leadership out there, they need to keep their eyes and their ears open, because things can happen that you just don't automatically would not notice unless you were looking for it. So when it's running good, we don't tend to look, but that's when things start bad. It's when they're good. They don't just get bad overnight. It takes a process to get to bad.
Yep, that's it. So anyway, there's an idea for you. Build your second string. Don't be flounder and lost when a key person decides they're going to leave your employment. Or if they come in today and say, hey, I've got a health issue. I'm going to have to take some time off. Or you just get notified. Joe had to go to the hospital last night. He had a heart attack or worse. So you got to be prepared. That's what it's all about. And that's how you're going to build that dream team, which is what you need. Because if you're going to build your dream, you got to have the team. And my recommendation is that you have that second string to reinforce your first string that's out there every single day. So with that, we appreciate you joining us this week on this episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. Let us know how we can help you maneuver through the maze of problems, and let's make your business one that you truly are proud of and want to be able to be viewed as a model to others. Talk to you next time on the next episode. Appreciate you joining us. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's a pleasure.